planets are changing the same way as the Earth is changing. The Earth changes are not unique to the Earth. They are a universal phenomenon throughout the solar system. In even intervals of 26 million years, every form of life on Earth spontaneously changes and upgrades from one type of creature to another. The DNA code itself gets rewritten, and I'm going to show you the evidence of how that happens. In fact, every ancient mystical and spiritual tradition speaks of a golden age that is coming. And they don't speak about it in a bland, sophomoric fashion. They speak about it in an exciting, invigorating, eye-opening way because of the extent to which they say things will be changed.
This is a scientific and perhaps a more positive look at the next 2 years. Many things are being discussed about the year 2012. Many things indeed. Twelve 2112 marks the end of the ancient Mayan long count calendar, thus marking the end of the world, right? And yes, we do acknowledge even this date has come up for debate recently. Earth crust displacement theory, stemming from magnetic pole shifts, which they say was a theory supported by Albert Einstein. Planet X will collide with Earth, or at least pass close enough to wreak some havoc. The galactic alignment that happens precisely every 26,000 years will cause earthquakes and volcanoes to obliterate mankind. Global warming will go into overdrive on that fateful winter solstice, causing the oceans to rise and redistribute landmass across the globe. A massive solar storm will knock out the power grid. Or how about our own undoing? World War III will result in a nuclear holocaust. Or how about this classic notion from the Square community? Balderdash. 2012 equals Y2K.
End of the world, Hollywood hype, not true. Hollywood, of course, likes to make exciting movies. We enjoy watching these things, but I think they're over the top in distorting the actual message. But end of the world, you know, this is not the first time or the last we've been promised that something would happen, and I suspect it would be a safe bet to imagine that 2012 will come and go, and that'll be the least of our worries that the Mayan calendar flips over.
A lot of talk going on these days. But what if a shift in the collective consciousness of humanity was in fact on the horizon? We pose this question. If there's even a 1% chance that every interconnected being on spaceship Earth may be affected by something, sometime soon, regardless of date and regardless of situation, don't you owe it to yourself to spend a fraction of time and get to know the potential possibilities? You know more about Lindsay Lohan than you do about Uranus, for crying out loud. This is what it comes down to. Your mind is like a parachute. It won't work unless it's open. Now, for some disclosure, we, the makers of this video, are not scientists. At all. Our angle in this endeavor is to spark a dialogue. We will attempt to show facts and opinions from more than one side. The internet is full of folks with the highest of credentials to folks with absolute zero credibility. Since we've made the decision to hedge our bets on the potential possibilities, it is now up to us to do what Joe Dirt could not. That is decipher the difference between a meteor and a frozen piece of space poo.
Ain't a meteor.
Yeah, it is. It came out of the sky.
This is a big old frozen chunk of toilet waste. You see the peanut?
That's space peanut.
Do you trust and believe everything that NASA tells you? Me neither. So with that, let's start with David Wilcock and take a gander at what's going on with some of our galactic neighbors right now.
Well, here's the proof. Interplanetary climate change, which is NASA's hottest secret. Now, we can look through and find the smoking gun of all 2012 scholarship because we can look at all the planets and the sun and see changes just like we see on Earth. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that. This is a composite graph of solar activity based on core samples from the Antarctic and the Arctic. And what you're seeing is the total amount of sunspot activity. This is what it's been doing in the last few years. We are now at a point where the only time that the solar activity was higher than it was right now just so conveniently happens to be 11,000 years ago, which in ancient teaching is associated with what? What happened 11,000 years ago? Atlantis fell, right? Could that be related to the solar activity? Hell yeah. So we're now at the strongest point in 8,000 years since that happened. Mercury has grown a magnetic field when Messenger went by in 2008 that was not seen in the 70s with Mariner 10. That's a big change in Mercury. Venus has had a 2,500% increase in this green glow on the night side that you can see there. That's active oxygen. So the atmosphere of Venus is changing back into something that's breathable. Mars is growing clouds and ozone, as you can see right here. There were no clouds on Mars before. That's brand new. The polar ice caps are melting on Mars, and they're actually calling it global warming in the mainstream media. But there's no SUVs on Mars, not that I've ever seen. Jupiter is having raging thunderstorms and global upheaval. Towering storms more than 100 kilometers tall. The rare storms, a sign of recent turmoil on the planet. Here's the picture. These bright hotspots were never seen before. This is extra heat that shouldn't be there, and the colors of the rings are changing. Then you go out to Saturn, you're seeing this plasma torus that's grown. All this red area wasn't there before. That's all this charged energy coming from the sun. Jupiter also has one around it, which I just didn't have time to show you in this presentation because we had to shorten it. You're seeing massive X-rays coming out from near the equator of Saturn. That's also a new phenomenon. Again, you're seeing a hotspot, just like the one I just showed you on Jupiter, the raging storms of global upheaval in 2008. Same thing happened in 2004. Where the heck did all this energy come from? The planet just goes, energy comes out. It's amazing. Going past, we're now seeing all these storms that were not there before. And you're starting to see that happen. It was called featureless as a cue ball, but now Eric Karkoshka is saying, really big changes. Now this is more typical of NASA, when NASA says, ground-based observations show seasonal brightness changes, not well understood. Oh, moving on. They try to downplay this stuff, but this is interplanetary climate change. This is something that's happening to every planet. Now Pluto is experiencing global warming even though it's moving away from the sun. There's been a 300% increase in its overall atmospheric pressure. This whole system tells us that Earth changes are not unique to the Earth. They're happening everywhere in the solar system. But even on Earth, we're seeing things that are not attributable to the ordinary climate change that we would think of as being caused by SUVs. Volcanic activity since 1875 has gone up by over 500%. Sea level is increasing, temperature is increasing, tornado activity is increasing. Natural disasters are increasing. The inflation-adjusted economic losses are increasing. Here you see the red indicates how much heat there is at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, on the floor of the ocean. And then what you're seeing is 85 and 96, or 99 rather. So in 14 years, you see a substantial warming on the bottom of the ocean.
What is causing all these changes? Part 2 looks to address that question. We'll see you over there.